Hi, Courageous Parents Network families. My name is Brenda Murray, and I have been a contributing member to CPN for about a year and a half. I wanted to just send you all a message, first of all, to let you know that I am thinking about you. I am not in a current situation where I am still caring for my medically complex child. My son passed away a year and a half ago at the age of 15. But I am not so far removed from living that way, that hyper-vigilant way that I know all of you are used to living, that I have forgotten. I have not forgotten. I stand with you right now during this really difficult time in our entire world. But I also want to let you know that I want to give you encouragement. The tables have completely turned, and I don't know another time in history or another time in the future that this will happen. Everyone is living your world right now, a world of isolation, of hypervigilance with cleaning, and a world where they're afraid of the unknown. This is something that I know very well, and I know that you know very well too, because you live it every single day. I started to think of all of you still caring for your medically fragile children. And I wondered what kind of fears you might have right now. The fear that maybe obtaining the medical supplies that you rely on, that you need to take care of your child at home, might not be there because we're in a shortage in this country. I thought about you a lot, and I wondered how you're doing. When my son Samuel was alive, I found something that was really helpful for me, and I ended up relying on it again in the past few weeks. And that was to get the thoughts out of my head and put them on paper or make a note in your phone. Just simple bullet points. And getting those thoughts out of your head can clear your mind to focus on what you need to do every day. And I literally wrote it up. Some of the things I needed to get out of my head. And really what it was just a plan. It was a plan, it was like a what if plan. And I had this for my son as well. What if this happened, what would I do? And so that's what I did, is I got it out of my head and I put it on paper. Things that are on my list are things like, what happens if we get sick? What is my plan for that? What happens if a loved one becomes sick because I can't go there to take care of them? How will I deal with that? I made a list of guidelines for our family for, I don't really like to call them rules. I like guidelines better. Guidelines for how we are going to operate. What kind of, simple protocols do we want to do for our family to keep us safe? And I want to say that our decisions on how we handle anything in life are based on our experiences. And I realized early on in this whole situation that our decision to take this seriously was a direct result of having our son Samuel. And in the end, our son suffered from acute respiratory distress, which is exactly what this virus does. And that just thinking about all of that and remembering, it was like reliving a nightmare for me. And if you have ever witnessed somebody suffer from respiratory distress, it's something you will never, ever forget. It stays with you forever. And it caused a great amount of PTSD for me, and I needed to wrap my head around it. And I needed to ask for help because I wasn't sure if I could find my way out of this on my own, in my own head. And the first thing I did was I reached out to my doctor and I asked for help. And quite honestly, just the simple act of asking took so much of my anxiety and my fear away. There's a ton of information coming at us. A lot of it's opinions, some of it's not true. I needed to be really careful with the amount of information I was consuming. And I decided to trust the facts, trust the CDC, things like that. And then something else I did was people have survived some incredibly horrific things. And I decided to study those things in history where people have overcome. The 1918 epidemic is one of them. I have learned a lot by reading about it and watching some videos. And I think it's important to trust history, to learn from history. How did people get through it? How did people survive it? And how did they come out on the other side of it? It doesn't mean there's not going to be heartache and there's not going to be loss or panic or, quite honestly, even death, because there's going to be all of those things. But the question is how will you handle it? Something I learned while having my son, and I'm implementing that even now in this sort of crisis situation that we have all been thrown into, is find something small. Find something small for yourself. I mean, really small, that you can do for yourself and have it be enough. It's really hard to have it be enough because we always want more. And it needs to be enough, and you need to find a little something for yourself to help you get through. Maybe you want to try to plant a garden with your kids this summer, or you want to try a new hobby. Maybe you want to learn to knit. I don't know what that means for you. It is different for everybody, but it will help you get through this. And, I liken it to, an airplane that's losing altitude. We're sort of all on this giant airplane. And it's kind of going down, and we're scared, and we're frightened, and we don't know what's going to happen. And what do they tell you to do when an airplane is losing altitude? They tell you to put on your own oxygen mask first. And I thought of that just in the last few days, that I needed to put on my own oxygen mask first before I could help anybody else, before I could, extend myself beyond the four walls of my home and offer things to people who might be in a worse situation than I am. I needed to make sure that I was okay first. And I encourage you to do that as well. Find something small for yourself that will make a big difference. You know this better than anybody because you're living a life that is hard for other people to relate to. You already know the importance of the small things, not the big things. You already know that the happiness doesn't lie in the big vacation, the expensive vacation you can take with your family. It's not in that at all. It's in the really, really small things, because you already know that. You already know what's important and what is not. You have a perspective that other people do not have. And in speaking to that, I too realized that the PTSD I was struggling from shouldn't make me afraid. It should make me brave. It should let me know that, in fact, I might just be the expert on this right now. The expert on what it's like to feel isolated. I'm also a respiratory expert, and you might be too. And that shouldn't make you frightened. That should make you the expert. And I encourage you to try to change your way of thinking about that. It might really, really help you. It really helped me. And I hope it helps you too. And you may not think you're brave, but you really, really, really are. And I wish you all peace during this really scary time. And I hope that you are all well. Take care of yourselves.